Hi, Sven here. There's something else exciting and new this time from Flux. Black Forest Labs has just released the Ultra RAW version, which was introduced only a few days ago. If you take a look at this article here, first there's this spectacular picture of the mountain, but also the examples down here, they're all pretty cool in their own way. And what's important here is that it offers up to 4 megapixels of resolution, and it costs just 6 cents per image. And somewhere I also read, yes, it says here too that the generation time is still only 10 seconds. And this raw mode is actually supposed to produce an even more natural looking image. And you may have seen it in the past few weeks, where on that one day with a picture name from the camera before the prompt, images like that were generated. I assume that this is probably exactly the same technology. Yes, and then it's also the case that Black Forest Labs released the API some time ago, and I haven't tried it out. And that's why I now want to try out these different modes with the API. So I'll go here to log in, sign in here, and then I can generate an API key for my make scenario by clicking on add key, giving it a name, and then I can use it. And I've also already bought some extra credits here. I think you get 50 or so for free when you use it for the first time. Yeah, and then I have the documentation here. And it's actually quite manageable and also relatively simple. That means here I find the tasks, and on the one hand, we'll be using generate image with 1.1 Pro and then with 1.1 Pro with Ultra mode. And yeah, how does the whole thing work? I see here the API call. Then I see that I have to specify my API token, my API key in the header with X key. And then I have a JSON document here with the prompt and various parameters. Let's take a quick look at the parameters. So here we have the width and the height up to a maximum of 1440 and a multiple of 32. I've set it to 1440 by 800 for myself. That gives me roughly a 16:9 ratio. And the upsampling, that's an interesting parameter, because if you set it to true here, it actually takes your prompt and reworks it supposedly to achieve even more creative generation. And that's my second mode that I want to try out. Safety and output format aren't that relevant because they are set to the default value. And then let's take a look at the Ultra mode here. Of course, I have a different call, but the structure itself is the same. And here there's now one differentino, actually two differences. First, I now specify the aspect ratio in terms of proportions, not in pixels anymore. And then here we have raw set to false in one case and true in another. All of these calls return an ID as a result. And I need this ID in order to actually get the result with the get result call, and then to be able to download the image. Let's take a look at the scenario I've set up here. So first of all, I've put the image prompt here into a variable, and anyone who knows my videos knows that I always use Darth Vader in his pink dress to test these generators. And that's exactly what I've done here again. And here I've created a second variable. I've put my API key in there so I can use it directly in the various calls. And now I have 4 paths here. One is Flux 1.1 Pro, one with upsampling, that is with this prompt refinement, then Ultra, and finally Ultra RAW. Let's take a look at this as an example. So here the API call method is post, here X key and the API key, raw JSON, and then down here the JSON document where I now have the image prompt included. Here are the width and height, and upsampling is set to false in this case. Path response is set to yes, and for upsampling it's identical except that upsampling is true. For Ultra, I use the other API call, and down here the other JSON document with 16:9 and raw set to false. Well, you can probably guess it now. It's the same again, except raw is set to true. Now, they said that the generation takes a maximum of 10 seconds. That's why I thought, well, I'll just wait 15 seconds. And after those 15 seconds, I'll use this getResult function, which works with this ID that is returned by this generate call. And then with the URL that I get here in turn, I can actually download the image using download image. And then I upload it to my Google Drive. Quick note about those 15 seconds. If I'm worried that it might take longer after all, then it's like this. If I've waited those 15 seconds and then the download image here fails because I don't have the URL yet, then I could add an error handler here with the resume path so that these two elements are executed again, wait another 10 seconds beforehand, and then jump back with the result. For the sake of simplicity, I've left that out for now. And at this point, I'm ready to just let the scenario run. So run once, the image prompt is set, the first request is sent, and we wait the 15 seconds. So all 4 paths have been executed and have also run successfully. And the only one that's still interesting to take a look at is this one here, namely in upsampling, because here in getResult, down here in the result, we should have the revised prompt. And indeed, yes. So from my simple prompt, this more extensive prompt was created. Surreal scene, heart of New York's bustling Times Square, Sis Lord, and so on and so forth. Scooter, sleek, metallic body. Well, let's see what came out of it. Some LED lights, iconic helmet, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so it's actually quite interesting what has become of this prompt now. And then let's head over to Google Drive. Let's take a look at the 4 images one after another. So first here, Flux 11 Pro. That already looks pretty cool with this tool dress. It actually says Pink Raider here. It's not exactly the Star Wars font, but it still turned out pretty cool. Then we have the upsampling. Yeah, you can already see that the scooter has now actually turned into more of a Vespa or something like that. Here too, it says Pink Raider. It looks a bit childish. Then Ultra. Okay, what does it say there? Punk Raider. Star Wars, at least. Here it says Star Wars, there it says Pink Raider. So now it appears more often, and up here as well, there are Star Wars-like characters. Okay. And then let's take a look at the RAW. Yeah, here the whole image is actually somehow even better. Here, a real Star Wars logo. Star Wars, Raider, Pink Raider. Well, it's actually quite interesting what came out of this. Let's take a look at these large images here. I'll just open my Explorer real quick, download it, hover over it with the mouse. Yeah, okay, so 2752 by 1536. That's definitely a pretty decent resolution. Now you know how to use the API with Flux, how to use the Pro Upsampling Ultra and Ultra RAW mode. And if you leave me a like, a comment, and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And we'll see each other in the next video. Bye.